Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Questionable Album Club, the podcast where a bunch of music fans, I'm not going to say expert, I'm just not going to say experts, music fans, we reevaluate maligned or derided albums from music history and hopefully get them based on our leaderboard. We have so at the end of each of these pods, we mark everything out of 100. And we have a leaderboard, which is here in extremely high-tech pencil and paper. And I'll just go through the top 10 right now, just for anyone listening to this. So I won't go through all of them, but the top 10. So the top 10 for this album to beat. Number 10 is Dada by Alice Cooper. Number 9, Scream by Chris Cornell. Number 8, Metal Machine Music by Lou Reed. Number 7, Dog Eat Dog by Joni Mitchell. Number 6, Grinder Man 2 by Grinder Man. Number 5, God Hates Us All by Slayer. Number 4, Van Halen 3. Number 3, Their Satanic Majesty's Request. Number 2, Drama by Yes. And number 1 on our leaderboard with a massive 66 out of 100 currently is Yes Please by the Happy Mondays, which is an album that I don't think anyone expected to be quite so high there. And Steve, you avoided this one because you weren't on the panel. So if you were on the panel, that would be a lot lower, I suspect. Anyway, speaking of you, the album that you chose for us all to listen to this week was a Prince album. And I looked up this, right? And I'm sure we're all aware of this. This is Prince's 32nd studio album, which is quite something. I can't think of any other artist who have recorded 32 albums. It's called Planet Earth, recorded in 2007, produced, of course, by him. All the songs written by him. And this was the year that he did. I don't know if you saw this. Yeah, when he played the Super Bowl in America and it poured with rain in Miami. It was incredible. It was one of the all-time great Super Bowl halftime appearances. It was just amazing. So this was the album that followed that. But I'm sure that will come up. He obviously died of a fentanyl overdose in 2016. I think that's it. That's the general gist of what we're talking about today. Steve, Mr. Gibson. Oh, I'll just hang on. Panel. Hello, panel. We've got Steve Gibson. Steve, hello, Steve. We've got Steve Hackett. Hello, Steve Hackett. We've got Marcus Kingwell, hello Marcus, and we've got Ross, hello Ross.
Good evening.
Steve, why did you choose this?
Well, it's Questionable Album Club. It was an album, any album given away the Daily Mail must surely be under question.
I forgot to mention that. Sorry, that's a very, very good point. That's one of the very unique things about this album is that you could only get it in the UK. It was given away free with copies of the Mail on Sunday on July the 15th, 2007. And apparently HMV opened especially, and they sold, because HMV, of course, this was pre-streaming and downloads and stuff, or I guess downloads were around then. That the only way because of course HMV wanted to stock this album, so the only way they could sell it was to so they just had loads of Mail on Sundays, HMV, and people would just get it like that. It's so weird, isn't it? Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
I read it was something of the usual sort of record company squabble kind of thing. But interestingly, I noticed that the Daily Mail had given away a Peter Gabriel album a couple of weeks before or something. It was a sketchy sort of best of or something like that, which again is, I don't know why the Daily Mail became, or the Sunday Mail on Sunday became, rock and roll, channel for people to get stuff out. I don't know. But also, I mean, I'm kind of a half a Prince fan, love half of it, loathe the other half of it, respect the talent and all the rest of it. So I think it'd be quite a good person to talk about generally, and it just intrigued me why. Yeah, all right. If you're going to give an album away free, why? I mean, I assume they just bid the most or paid the most. But the bizarre result was, I remember my mum saying, "Oh, I got a free album in the Sunday paper. It was quite good, you know." I just thought, no, I can't be dealing with this. So that's why it's here. I mean, yeah, Prince's music. And he's one person actually that in the rock and pop world that I regret not going to see live. I had a couple of opportunities, but I wasn't too fussed at the time. And I don't think probably the singles he had out at that time I didn't like or something, so I didn't get around to going. But everyone I know who did see him says it was quite an experience. So it's a bit of a regret not to have seen him. But interested to hear everybody's thoughts about this album, whether it had enough good stuff on it.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Thank you. Marcus, have you seen him live?
No, I didn't, and I'm with Steve on that one. I think it's a regret not having seen him live, but I'm not a fan of Prince at all. I remember the first time I saw his stuff was on Jonathan King, the notorious Jonathan King used to have this program on TV where he showed pop videos and stuff from the US, and he was like, what's up and coming talent. It was called something like Letter from America or something. Someone will remember it, I'm sure
Yeah,
now.
I remember that.
And he had this thing.
Entertainment USA.
Thank you. That's the one. And he said, right, folks, you've got to watch this video, When Doves Cry. And it had Prince kind of crawling on all fours with no clothes on. I know, just the title, When Doves Cry. It's like a sort of 12-year-old's poetry, isn't it? What on earth? And I'm looking thinking, this guy is just so vain, so awful. And it got me off on the wrong foot really with Prince. So, I find with rock and pop music, I want to like the person a bit, and I just found him that sort of that introduction of the vanity really, really grated with me. And it never quite went away with Prince. And then when I was at university, I shared a flat with two guys who were utter Prince fans. So I was kind of, all the album tracks and B-sides were rammed down my throat, and none of it convinced me at the time. That said, I did buy a Prince record. I got Get Off, which it was a single. It was a CD single, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And that was my first tipping over. Like, yeah, I'm starting to get what this guy's all about. And now I listen back to his singles, and I think they're fantastic. The kind of 80s and early 90s poppy singles, Raspberry Beret and all that stuff, I think are fantastic. But just below that level, it doesn't do it for me. I can't quite put my finger on it. I find it a bit too clever, a bit bland. I'm looking for more of an edge with it. So I don't know. It's taste, isn't it? It's Prince. Really, I'm not a fan of Prince. That's the truth of the matter. I like a very small commercial element of his work, and that's it. But yeah, total admiration for the guy. I mean, the 32 albums is just like astonishing. He's had the best musicians, the way that it's crafted, all this stuff. You've got to like hats off to him. But does it give me a buzz to listen to? No.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. I think it can be argued whether releasing over 32 albums, where he released 7 more after before he died, is that good or bad? I mean, because there's quality control, which of course he was notoriously. Hey, we'll come to that. Steve Hackett, did you ever see him live? Are you a Prince fan?
Yeah, I did. I saw him a couple of times. Yeah, he sort of got off a bit like Steve. I got off to a bad start with him. I remember 1999 was a big album at college, and all the girls liked it, so we got into it too. And I remember taking a girl to see the Purple Rain film. I don't know if any of you've seen that. And I think I've only ever walked out of 2 films, and that was one of them. It was just awful, truly, truly awful. I just decided he was so uncool and not for me, And then came Sign of the Times, which I don't know. I mean, to me, it's a classic. It's an absolute classic album. It floored me. I thought it was amazing. And I managed to get tickets to see him. I mean, he cancelled the Wembley dates on that tour and then rearranged them, if my memory serves me correct, about a year later. And I managed to get a ticket. So it was about 88, 89, something like that. And it was just incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. It was about, I think he just released Love Sexy after that. It's another good album. And the show, I mean, to this day, it's one of the best things I've ever seen. And stuck with him for a bit. I liked the Parade as well. I liked most of the 80s stuff. It was great. But I think 90s onwards, it was the law of diminishing returns, really, as far. I went to see him again at Earl's Court on the, what was it called, Diamonds and Pearls tour. And he was great live. I mean, I don't think anyone could deny he always sort of brought it live, But in terms of albums, I think they just got watered down. You said it, Seb. It was quality control. I don't know what was going on. He had total control over it, and there was just more and more duff tracks on it, and he was parodying himself, I think, a little bit. And 32 albums. I think there were about 32 in the bloody 90s. There's millions of the things, and that's a problem. It's not a good thing, and you get a bit frustrated. You think, well, I'm sure among all those albums there were, some incredible tracks, absolutely incredible tracks, and he probably could have made 4 or 5 absolute classics again, but he chose not to. There you go. But yeah, fan of the 80s stuff, basically. There it sort of ends for me.
Thank you, Steve. Ross?
Yeah. When I was 13, I was absolutely obsessed with Purple Rain. I a while ago, a couple of years ago, there's this thing on Facebook going around where it was with, like, name the 10 albums which were the most formative for you, and it was definitely one of them. Actually, I did music O level. I did my fourth year music O level project on Purple Rain, and I remember getting into Purple Rain and then buying the tape of 1999 and playing those two for probably about 3 or 4 months just on loop over and over again. I was absolutely obsessed, and love both of those with absolute passion, and I still play those a lot now. I thought Around the World in a Day was wonderful. I love that too, and I thought those three are solid gold. I thought Parade I bought and I liked, and I thought it had some massive high spots, but I don't think I was as enthusiastic as I was with the other three. And Sign of the Times, again, I thought some just absolute gold on it, but I thought for me it was starting to move away from where I was, and Love Sexy is where I sort of got off the bus. And it's weird. I've been listening to a huge amount of Prince these last 2 weeks. I mean, it's been great. I mean, thanks Steve for this, by the way. I mean, it's been absolutely great. And it's like I listened to Love Sexy, and I had the same experience of it now as I did in the late 80s, which was, I can see it's a good album, but it's just not for me. And this whole idea about quality of album and just your tastes, and really, as I never bought another Prince album after Sign of the Times, and it wasn't because I started disliking the man. I was just, I was disappearing off one way as he was disappearing off another, and that's fine. And so I've always had a massive soft spot for Prince, it's been quite a delight getting back, and I've listened to so many albums that I hadn't even listened to before. I'm just doing this, so it's been a great 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Every time we do these, Ross, it sends you off in such crazy directions. It's into the Prince discography. That's quite a big place to go to. So thank you for coming back to do this. It's me, isn't it? Well, same. They were Kerrang covered Purple Rain, right? It was like, because he was the new Hendrix right at the time. That's what they're trying to kind of push me. I was like, oh, I bet that. I was black as well, so I feel better about myself. And I liked it. I didn't love it, but as years went on, as I kind of demetalled myself, I kind of got into Around the World in a Day, and same thing. I love the 80s and early 90s stuff. Diamonds and Pearls was where I got off. Never Saw Him live. I saw a lot of his live shows on TV, and I used to watch those in the early 90s. They were just amazing. This incredible stage sets, like a whole city on stage. It was just amazing, and the virtuosity was amazing. But again, and I watched the Super Bowl thing, and I think live. I think he kind of lived to play live, didn't he? As far as I can say, he had at Paisley Park. He had like his whole studio set up, and he was there the whole time, and virtually lived there, and everyone was there, and they would just play everything all the time. And I think, unfortunately, that sort of came out in the releases. It was just like yeah. It's always me who makes the mistake of actually talking about the album the first time out, but I do all talk at the beginning, so I might as well. Yeah, I just thought it was just a fucking shit. I just thought it was I don't even want to talk about it really. Let's go on to Mr. Gibson. What did you think?
Well, there's another little strange thing about Prince I've always thought was his. When he died, I had a few people talking just at parties where someone saying to me, "Oh, so I loved him because he was so deeply religious and all the rest of it, and Jehovah's Witness or whatever he was." And I'm thinking, how's that square up with like Sexy MF? And I never really, was it showbiz religion? Probably that sort of thing. So that never really, that was always a bit strange to me. But talking about this album, don't know, I quite like. I reckon that was the guitar. Was that the single?
Yeah.
Lyrics generally are awful, and there's too much on balance. There's just too much of that kind of lovey-dovey faux soul sort of high pitched. I cannot stand. I genuinely cannot stand it when he does that. And there's one track as well which have I got it here? I've written Mr. Goodnight. It's just basically Barry White. It's basically a Barry White song. That's
the one where he rhymes private jet with Moet.
Yes, yeah.
That's genius.
That's the other thing. The lyrics are, because I had it on the last time I listened to it. I had the sort of lyrics up on Spotify, and I was sort of keeping an eye on them, thinking this
Keeping an eye on him.
lyric was not his strong point. Lyrics, not his strong point. That said, though, the single guitar as a song, it was all right, and the playing on it, obviously, the playing on the album throughout is, as you'd expect, pretty good. But there's just too much. Wait, when I reach for Prince, it will not be this one again. It will not be this one again. Yeah, too much. I think I read a review and it said there's just too much textbook shite Prince on it, and I couldn't agree more, to be honest with you. And probably a good sort of marry up with the Daily Mail or whatever. Looking back, to be honest, so not really. I thought I'd have more to say about the music because it's Prince, but I don't really, because
Yeah, I'm
a bit disappointed. There's not much. It doesn't seem. It seems something he's just rattled off with everything else he rattled off, rather than having a. I love the Symbol album because there seems to be a bit of a. However crazy it is in points, there's a bit of a drive behind that, and the band are incredible. And he seemed to have a bit of a rock up his ass about it at the time. So, but this just seems like something he's rattled off. I say the ballads, I can't bear it. I'm not a soul music fan anyway, and someone doing it like that, I think.
Also, I think he's quite famous for his falsetto. His falsetto on stuff like Kiss can be really good. I think his falsetto is generally pretty shit on this record.
Yeah,
but I think also, yeah, he's always doing music. He's so consumed with music, and I think the one thing he sort of neglects to do is songwriting. It's just like, oh yeah, this will do. This is this. This will do.
Yeah, so yeah.
It sounds like it's coming out of a Prince sausage factory, and nothing transcends that.
Yeah, absolutely. I did, and I think that it says, because that was a very, very. Correct me if it was a single or not, but it was the one I recognised. So it must have been on the radio, the one that was pushed guitar. And it's even, by his standards, it's quite a poor single, and it's by far and away, in my opinion, the best track on the album.
It was all weekend. It's been bothering me, that song, because I remember it when it came out, and I was listening to it in the car this morning because you think he's ripped this off something,
isn't it? Girls and Boys off Parade. It's basically the song.
It's I Will Follow by U2.
Oh.
I was just this morning. It's the same. It's not even a riff, is it? It's just that banging guitar thing that he does. I mean, it's a complete rip-off, but.
Well, like Lion of Judah has got the same first chord as Purple Rain and the same chorus and guitar effect. I mean, there's just so much self-plagiarism in this.
Yeah. But that's maybe in his defense. I was reading it was a record contractual sort of thing. It was a bit of maybe that's something to do with it. He did just rattle something out, give it away free in a paper to get himself out of something. I don't know the full, But
it was his own by then. He had his own label. It's out on NPG Records, which is
but there was some sort
New
of,
Power
some
Generation.
sort of shenanigans going on. It was very difficult to get to the nub of it. I found with my sort of research and reading into it, there seems to be. You'd imagine. You know what it's like. There must have been layers upon layers of legal stuff for him to get out of that. Maybe I'm just trying to, defend the man a little bit because I thought it was a very poor, forgettable album from somebody. Probably.
Interestingly, having listened to this, I kind of like to listen to either side of the record we do, just to see where it stands contextually in the kind of flow of releases. But I didn't dare. I was like, fuck, I'm not going near those, man. Do you know what I mean?
The other thing is, when there's so much, I didn't realise, but there's just post his death. There's just so much, and it's just sort of. It's not even sort of titles albums, are they? They're just sort of Prince, this from this year to that year or whatever. And it's just reams upon reams. Did anyone? Well, I guess some people collect this stuff, but go on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still take him very seriously. Yeah. Speaking of which, Marcus, our very own Mr. Goodnight. What are your thoughts on this, Marcus?
Well, I'm not sure how much I can add to the last two rounds of comments. Really, it did grow on me slightly. That's the kind of one bit of praise I can give it. But when I say that, it was really the first two tracks which I'd say quite liked, and then after that, it really does. The graph goes majorly downhill for the entire rest of the album. So yeah, Guitar was quite good. Planet Earth, I think, is quite a good song, but it's the whole feel of it is stuck. Years ago, it's stuck in late 80s, early 90s without any reference points or influences for all the stuff that happened musically since over that period. What's that? Probably over 20 years. There's a tiny bit of rap as a sort of a nod to hip hop. There's the massive surge in R&B that came around the 2000s. That's ignored. I don't expect him to take on board, grunge or rave or whatever. But it's just the same sound that he had, and you think there's more things going on in music, and why did he not want that? It's like he's been locked in Paisley Park without having any other influences come in. So it's just the same old things going round and round. And we had the radio on in the car, and they had a Madonna track, and what was it, something like in her big hits from the 80s, and the backing was the same sort of sound, that kind of, it's always got some kind of tambourine going and a bit of a conga drum or something, and it just was like, that's the era that it's completely stuck in. And I did the same thing as well as Steve did, accidentally stuck on the Spotify lyrics when it comes to his anti-war song, to Resolution at the end. I don't know if anybody else had the pleasure of reading this, but the main problem with war is that nobody ever wins. The next generation grows up and learns how to do it all over again.
Wow.
I mean, it's really just like his first go at an it's not exactly, the answer's blowing in the wind or even War Pigs, for anti-war stuff. It's so trite and terrible. He should have stuck with talking about his sex life. I think that's probably his better lyricism, because then it had some humor and silliness to it. But yeah, just die. I mean, it's one of them I thought was like, it's sort of thing that could have been in the Kids from Fame in the 1980s, when they all kind of pick up an instrument in the music shop and all start playing along. I'm confused by it. I think quality control is a good observation, actually, either lack of. The only thing I can really say that's otherwise positive is just the execution. If you're going to have those ideas and put them together and play them well and produce them well, the sound is sort of perfect and everything's kind of happening in the way that it should for this sort of music. But as far as giving me any sort of emotional stir, it's very low indeed. That's all I've got to say, I'm afraid.
Marcus, in Prince's defence, the first song is about the environment, planet Earth. The last song is indeed about the end of the world. All the other songs are about having sex, I think. So,
okay, all right, then.
Planet Earth,
and guitar.
shagging. So,
Yeah,
and it's
you like the guitar more than his music.
Where it's like, I do want to shag you, but not as much as my guitar. So it's still sexual. Mr.
Right,
Hackett, as a seasoned, as someone who's seen Prince live and was a big fan, what did you, having listened to this multiple times?
Yeah, there's so much of his output, say post Diamonds and Pearls, which I sort of stopped, that I just don't know. I mean, in its favour, the album, I mean, what he does well, he writes good pop tunes, doesn't he? He's always done that. And when he puts his mind to that,
He can do. He can do.
He can, if he wants to. And there's, I would argue, about 3 or 4, decent tunes on there. I listed them down, but I've lost my list. I think Chelsea Rogers is a pretty good track. It's the nearest he comes to his sort of, Kiss type Alphabet Street funk stuff, which is where he really, really excels. The the Planet Earth track. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know whether it's sort of mooted as, the cover and everything and the lyrics of that. It's obviously an eco, aware track, isn't it? That's what it is. But you sort of think the rest of the album would be like that. But, straight away you're back in classic Prince territory, basically. The slow jams, as he called them, the sex songs. And he's done it so many times. It's just of no interest by the time you got to, when was this, 2007? There was just no point. So, it's a poor album. I don't like, I'm a Prince fan, gotta say, but this is a bad album, I'd say. Redeemed by 3 or 4, well-written pop tunes, and that's sort of pretty much it.
Yeah.
Really. Okay. I don't know whether the fentanyl was kicking in by this stage. Everyone was shocked by that. Yeah, it was a real, wasn't it?
He was a heroin addict, an opioid addict, wasn't he? For years.
That coming,
Yeah.
Like Steve said, Jehovah's Witness, and what the hell was going on? I don't know.
But Michael Jackson wasn't he? What was his?
Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, he was Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, okay. But I think Steve, you're right. There's kind of pop star religion, right? It's like Bob with his,
Yeah, I can do. I'm more religious, but I can still do all the other stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. Ross.
I'm going to be slightly more positive.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
I mean, I go with Marcus's chart. We're starting the first couple of tracks and dipping off, but I think we end up going back up. I agree. I think it's lyrically is the worst thing I've ever heard Prince do. He can have a great turn of phrase, stuff on Sign of the Times, particularly. It can be really, really nice. Doesn't do it anywhere here. And you're right, thematically, Planet Earth. You think, we've got a theme here, and there's not. But I think all the good stuff comes with a little but it makes it reasonably interesting. I quite like Planet Earth, and then it goes into Barry Manilow's "Could It Be Magic" midway through, and it's utterly bizarre. Why is he doing Barry Manilow in the middle of a song about Planet Earth? I do not know. And then I quite like the funkiness of guitar, but lyrically it's really, and then it sort of goes down. I thought that lyrically, and I genuinely, for a couple of those, I was wondering if it was satire. Future Baby Mama particularly, and Mr. Goodnight, I did wonder if he was taking the piss. Particularly Future Baby Mama. I mean, is it, or are we just like a slightly more aware a couple of decades on? But you're thinking, no, I mean, it's like sorry, digression. It's like when AC/DC brought out the track "I Want a Mistress for Christmas." You think, didn't someone say, even for us guys, this is a bit much? And I think it was saying with Prince on this. Isn't someone going, Prince?
I've never heard that. I've never heard that.
That's good. It's really good.
Yeah, isn't it? Someone to poke and say, even for you, Prince, isn't that a little bit much? And so I think I think Somewhere Here on Earth's a bit dull, and then the next three are just god awful. And then you've got this one, All the Midnights in the World, and I can't place it. I think it might be the theme to the Mary Tyler Moore Show, but it's something. It's got that 70s TV entrance thing. I tried
Ross, I can't listen to that song without thinking of toddlers jumping up and down, laughing. Do you know what I mean?
One I thought was Kids from Fame. We've all got the last three. Telly on that, haven't we?
But then I like Chelsea Rogers. I like the last two, Line of Judah. I like Resolution. I thought they weren't bad at all. And I did listen to the albums either side, and the other albums either side are much better than this one.
What are they, Ross? What are they?
It's 3121, I think, if I got that number the right way around. And then there's a live album, and there's Lotus Flower, which he did with another singer who I can't remember the name of. But I mean, both of them, they've got a bit too much vocoder. I don't think it's auto-tune. It's a bit vocoder. I hate that. And I think a lot of the tracks are just not for me, but you can tell they're actually decent albums. So I don't think this is just a slump. I think this is I don't know. Just it's a bit slapdash, but I mean, I think that I come out of it and I thought, there were enough of tracks on there that I didn't mind at all. We can get onto the Mail on Sunday maybe a bit later, particularly when you're doing an album about Planet Earth. But yeah, no, I'm a little bit more positive than everyone else.
Yeah, Ross, I think you said that you caveats at the end. There's a lot of stuff in here that I don't mind at all, and that's the problem, isn't it? There's so much of this that you sort of think, well, it just sounds like Prince, not very good Prince. I completely agree with you, by the way. The last three songs, well, Chelsea Rogers is really good, and I think if that had been released as a single, we're all used to hearing it. It hits really hard. The funk's really good. The guitar's really good. It just works as a song, but it's right towards the end, and by then you're thinking, you haven't got the energy to think, actually, I'm going to pick this one out and I'm going to enjoy this. But yeah, it does. It comes as a kind of like, and the one after, Line of Judah, it's for Prince. He's mixing genres. It doesn't just sound like, oh, this is the funk one, this is the rock one, this is the whatever. Like Line of Judah sounds like a weird sort of psychedelic pop song, like something off Round the World in a Day or something. So yeah. Again, just the guitar one, even the riff isn't even the guitar riff isn't very good, and and there's a bit of a diptych, isn't there, with the One You Want to See. That's one where he says, I've got lots of money and I don't want to spend it all on me. It's just awful. It's embarrassing. So it does sound very close to sort of self-parody or pastiche, who knows. Right, I think we can go. I think we can now move on to. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say: did anyone else notice during Chelsea Rogers he shouts out randomly MP3? Did anyone notice that?
Yeah.
Because obviously MP3s were coming in with a new thing, and he just at some point he just shouts out like trying to be cool, MP3 like this, just a proof of nothing. It's just so bizarre. It's like, oh mate. Anyway,
isn't it? Because I don't think anyone would disagree. When he was good, he was really, really, really good. When he was on form, and it just felt like one of those careers that for 2 decades just petered out unnecessarily. It's like I said earlier, how many there could have been about 3-4 classic albums there. You're done. Everyone remembers that. But
well, I think the thing was that people stopped buying his albums because they knew there'd be another one along next, in a couple of months' time. But then live, he always delivered. I mean, he did like 21 dates at the O2 here in the UK. Yeah. They were like the hottest tickets. People were raving at that, and a lot of people didn't buy his albums and just assumed that when you went to see him, you get like a massive long funk jam, hope with a few songs you'd heard in between.
After every one of those dates, he'd go and play a club somewhere until 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, that's right. Literally after the arena show, he'd go to a club, wouldn't he?
And the gigs themselves were like 3 hours long. I mean, like you said, it was just all about live, I think, wasn't it? That's what he really.
Well, I think with all that playing, the drug taking and the shagging, he didn't have time to develop these songs. I think genuinely,
and the praying,
the praying and the knocking on doors.
Yeah. Before I forget, I don't suppose anyone's read this book, have they?
If anyone listening on audio, that is Sinead O'Connor. What is it?
Rememberings. It's her autobiography. So there's a chapter in this, and I recommend if you have Spotify or whatever, look it up. It's about when Prince summons her to his LA mansion, not the one in wherever he was, Minneapolis. And obviously, it was after she'd covered Nothing Compares, and just after. Do you remember when she ripped up that picture of the Pope on TV?
Yeah.
And this had obviously irked him, so he invites her to the place and she goes on her own to his place. And it's the most bizarre thing I've ever read, because the guy was obviously, an odd character. And it ends up, he forces, he tries to force a bowl of soup on her, a little bit like, do you want a cup of tea, Father Ted sort of thing. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And she says no. And he leaves the room and he comes back with 2 pillows and says, right, we're going to have a pillow fight. She's like, what the fuck? And he starts having a pillow fight. He then leaves the room again, comes back with a pillow, and he's put a fucking brick in it. He's put something really hard in it. Smacks around the head. I mean, really smacks around the head. She runs out of his mansion, managed to escape through the gate into like the Los Angeles night. And he comes running after her. He gets in his car and starts chasing her up and down the freeway. And she's hiding in bushes at the side of the road from Prince. I mean, I've got to trust that that's true, but it's just utterly bizarre.
That didn't make it into Mr. Goodnight, did it?
Certainly didn't. What a song that would have been. What an odd thing to do. What a really
very strange. That's so odd.
Mind you,
you're going to say that. But yeah.
Steve, do you want to? Is there anything else to say? Do you want to go into summing up and give me?
Yeah. I wanted to talk more about the Daily Mail thing.
Oh, yeah, go on. Yeah, we haven't talked about that.
There's not much to kind of. They just did it, and you think they'd obviously just bid the most. I thought it was strange that they'd already done the Peter Gabriel album. I didn't know that. So what were they trying to do? Sort of zhuzh up their image a bit, the Mail, because I'm assuming it came down to money. I'm assuming they just bid the most out of the other tabloids to pump it out. I don't know.
I don't think it would have cost all that much. Would it?
It would have gone to bids.
I guess so. But like classic rock gave out, still do every now and then give out albums.
You have to go back to the music industry at that time. As you say, MP3 is just coming out.
People still buying CDs.
Very unusual thing to have a new album come out that way. So, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, the Mail on Sunday is it up there? At that point, was it one of the biggest selling tabloids? Was the Mirror or something?
It is, yeah. Yeah. Very much so, yeah.
Well, that aside, anyway, quite a poor album. Prince, I'm probably looking at 20 marks, 20 out of 100 for me for this.
20. Marcus. Marcus, two questions.
Yes.
Daily Mail, and then a number, please.
Well, why did he go for the Daily Mail, or why did they go for
I just like to hear you. I'd like to hear you just riff about the Daily Mail for a few
Well,
minutes.
it's
Not very long.
No, you're right. It is extraordinary, isn't it? Because what little I know about marketing is you're meant to match the products with the market that you've already got, more or less. So you think of the readership of the Daily Mail, which is generally older, sort of conservative, middle class, whatever, and it's just a mismatch for this. I don't think the regular Daily Mail or Sunday Mail or Sunday readers would have been interested in listening to this record. And even if you try, this kind of scattergun thing of, oh, maybe some will like it and then we'll start to buy some back catalogue, it just seems like the antithesis of any kind of marketing approach. I mean, better off giving it away on street corners or something,
or give away greatest hits. Do you know what I mean? Give away greatest hits, and then a voucher that gives like £5 off the next CD.
No, in fact, with Steve Hackett was saying earlier, basically, if you could cherry pick the strong songs out of the 32, you've got a lovely sort of little series of greatest hits, haven't you? You've got one of those kind of box set things, and it could be a really good, tasty thing of the 90s and 2000s years. But anyway, that's what didn't happen. So that's my little thing on the Daily Mail, and nothing to do with Steve Gibson's score. I'd already predetermined my score at 19. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Marcus. Thank you very much, Mr. Hackett. Any thoughts on the Daily Mail, or you could just
say about the Daily Mail? I despise the Daily Mail. It was a bizarre thing, wasn't it? It was absolutely mad. And I remember I bought a copy and to get my copy of the album.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you still have it?
What, the album?
Yeah.
Probably somewhere in there under P.
Because it would have just been a cheap cardboard sleeve, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was just a piece of rubbish. Yeah, and I didn't enjoy it at the time, and did read a copy of the Daily Mail. There you go. The album itself, I mean, it's so difficult because it is Prince, and it's got quality. There's quality in there. It just frustrates me, that sort of thing. And I think there's about 4 great tracks on it. I think there could have been better. I'll probably give it 40, I would say, for that. I love Chelsea Rogers and a couple of the other songs I like. I've completely forgotten the name of them, but it's not a good album, is it? But 40 for me,
Thank you, Steve. You're right. There is good stuff in here, but it's just like I suppose in a way it's quite nice that we can actually drag out those nice things into a number. I'm just going to shut up. Ross.
Yeah, I think the decision to give it Royal Mail on Sunday is just bizarre. I can only guess that they think there's a whole bunch of people who are going to give it to their grandchildren. Say, oh, you like this? I mean, but if you're Prince, I mean, there's a whole question about giving away music free, and particularly when you don't need the money, about whether or not that is just an act of generosity, or it's actually sucking interest away from musicians who actually need a bit of cash and people buying stuff. But you think even like someone like Prince, even if someone would do a little bit of due diligence about who is this we're giving it away to? You've got a first track where they've got things about, don't judge unless you be judged. I know, let's give it away one of the most bigoted newspapers there in the country. And I know they're a few years away from printing, lies about climate science, but the whole thing about planet Earth, the blinking Mail on Sunday. I mean, just did someone not stop and say, it's like when I think the Pet Shop Boys gave an album away, either the Mail on Sunday or the Mail, and it's like, what? I mean, how? Anyway, so I think just the whole decision just stank. I mean, it's like, I remember when you used to go to railway stations and you used to try and buy a bottle of water, and they'd go, if you buy a copy of the Telegraph, you get it free. And you go, no, I just want to pay for the water. It's cheaper if you buy the Telegraph. No, I don't want to.
I do exactly the same. I would always refuse to do that. Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So anyway, so it's a little odd. I always do this thinking, what would I give it out of 10, and then I do me multiplication, and I was probably going to give it 4 out of 10, so I'm going to go for 40 as well.
Just one small point as well is at least At least they didn't do what U2 did, which I hated U2 anyway, and I just hope they burn in hell for what they did by just a U2 album turning up in my fucking
Get it off, get it off, get it off.
yeah, exactly, yeah. At least there was, at least there was some sort of choice there. So
I'm really annoyed you've raised that, Steve, because that was on my little list of songs of albums to bring into this when it's my next turn. So now I've blown it wide open. I've got to go back to this next one on the list.
Very good, very good. Yeah, I am going to. I sort of agree with Steve Hackett. Really, I think Chelsea Rogers was good, and the one after that, I've got the songs in front of me, and there was enough good stuff. I quite liked the first song. That was very lyrically trite. I thought it works as a track, but the rest, there's so much filler and stuff that's just unpleasant. But I still think 36. I go with 36. There's enough good stuff to give it something. So altogether, that gives us so Steve Gibson 20, Marcus 19, Steve Hackett 40, Ross 40, me 36, and I've done the calculations while everyone was talking. So that gives us a total of 31 out of 100. Now, where does 31? That puts it 31. Oh dear, hang on. No, that puts it in between "Save" by Bob Dylan. And Pat Boone's "In a Metal Mood." So it puts it 12th. Yeah, comes 12th. So it's a little bit below the Eternal Idol. So it doesn't make top 10, sadly, Prince. But not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Well, no, I think he rescued that with the last kind of couple of songs on the record. Right, thanks everyone. Right, so the next album, it's my turn to choose, and it's an album. It's the last. I feel bad doing this. It's the final album by it's 1979, and I think it's the seventh and final album by a band called Wings, and it's called Back to the Egg. Wings, of course. Was it Alan Partridge said Wings, the band that the Beatles could have been. But yeah, Paul McCartney and Linda McCartney and friends. This was the album before things knocked it on the head. Does anyone, Steve? You all right there? Steve,
I'm just pondering the panel selection for the next one.
Are you familiar with Wings' Earth?
Everything I've heard has been total shit. That's familiar as I.
Well, honestly, mate, this one they got it right. Finally, the seventh time around, it was like, oh yeah, all right, yeah, and then they split up. But I don't know this. I'm a big Beatles fan. I actually like Wings. I'm actually going. The last couple of years, I've been going through a bit of a Wings phase, but I didn't know this one at all. So I don't know it. So.
During lockdown, I spent a week doing the entire McCartney post Beatles thing in chronological order.
Ah, okay. And you did all Wings.
Yeah. Because I knew the Lennon and Harrison stuff just inside out, and I realised there was so much I hadn't actually listened to Macca. So
Has anyone heard that new Wings album, that one hand clapping thing?
That was a live in the studio thing. That's a film.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I actually thought it was great, and I'm not a big Wings fan, but I thought it was like really rough, good versions of it.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's really, really good. Really, really good. I'm waiting for that to come up on the. I'm not going to say what I'm waiting for that to come up. I'm waiting for that to appear on certain streaming services. But yeah, it's really good, really good. But this hasn't got this is not a beloved album. This one, so it's kind of, it feels quite questionably. Right, that's it. Thanks everyone. Unless anyone's got anything else to say, they can say it when they're goodbye. Steve, thank you, Steve Gibson, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Steve Hackett, thank you.
My pleasure.
Marcus, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
And Ross, thanks so much, mate.
Thanks all.
And please, if you got this far, please like and subscribe and all that sort of marquee, because it helps us, and God knows we need some help. Thanks everybody, and goodbye.
Right.